안녕. 오늘 스토리는 제가 자랐던 미국에서도 전 세계로 우리나라까지도 유명한 동화입니다. 아기돼지 삼형제라는 스토리 아시죠 다? 어렸을 때 그러한 만화로도 애니메이션으로도 많이 나온 이야기예요. 그런데 되게 재밌게 봤던 그런 만화였고요. 목소리가 되게 특이했어요. 요건 이런 목소리. 너무 아직까지도 생생하게 기억이 나네요. 여러분들에게 원작인 영어로 한번 이렇게 읽어보려고 하는데요. 아주 여러 가지의 버전이 있어요. 1800년대에 그런 이야기 있기 때문에 일단 그 중에서 그냥 제 생각에 제일 재밌겠다 싶어서 한번 제가 직접 좀 편집을 해봤어요. 리나의 버전 아기돼지 삼형제 한번 읽어보도록 할게요. 네. The Three Little Pigs. Once upon a time there were 3 little pigs. When they were old enough, they were sent out into the world to seek their fortunes. The first little pig was very lazy. He didn't want to work at all, and he built his house out of straw. The second little pig worked a little bit harder, but he was somewhat lazy too, and he built his house out of sticks. They built their houses very quickly, and then they sang and danced and played together the rest of the day. The third little pig worked hard all day and built his house with bricks. It was a sturdy house, complete with a fine fireplace and a chimney. A big bad wolf saw the 2 little pigs while they sang and danced and played. The wolf thought, what juicy, tender meals they will make. He chased the 2 pigs and they ran and hid in their houses. The big bad wolf went to the first house, knocked on the door and said, little pig, let me come in. No, not by the hairs on my chinny chin, replied the pig. Then the wolf bared his teeth and said, then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. So he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house in. The wolf opened his jaws very wide and bit down as hard as he could. But the first little pig escaped and ran away to hide with the second little pig. The wolf chased the little pig down the lane and came upon the second house made of sticks. He could smell the pigs inside and his mouth began to water. So he knocked on the door and said, little pig, let me come in. No, not by the hairs of our chinny chin, replied the pigs. So the wolf bared his teeth and said, then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. So he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house in. The wolf was greedy and he tried to catch both pigs at once, but he was too greedy and caught neither. His big jaws clamped down on nothing but air, and the 2 little pigs scrambled away as fast as their little hooves would carry them. The wolf chased them down the lane and he almost caught them. But they made it to the brick house and slammed the door closed before the wolf could catch them. The 3 little pigs were very frightened. They knew the wolf wanted to eat them. And that was very, very true. The wolf hadn't eaten all day, and he had worked up a large appetite, chasing the pigs around, and now he could smell all three of them inside. And as he imagined what a lovely feast they would make, he knocked on the door and said, "Little pigs, little pigs, let me come in." No, not by the hairs on our chin, replied the pigs. So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." So he huffed and he puffed. He huffed and he huffed, and he puffed and he puffed, but he could not blow the house down. At last, he was so out of breath that he couldn't huff and he couldn't puff anymore. The brick house stood firm. The wolf danced about with rage, hungrier than ever. He needed to find another way in. The wolf spied the chimney atop the brick house and began climbing to the roof. "Quick, quick," said the third little pig. The three little pigs got the biggest pot they had, filled it with water, and put it on the fireplace to boil. And all the time, they could hear the sound of the wolf climbing, then walking on the roof. The little pigs held their breath. Nearer and nearer he came until, as the wolf was coming down the chimney, splash! The wolf landed right into the pot of boiling hot water. And that was the end of the big bad wolf. The two little pigs now felt sorry for having been so lazy. They too built their houses with bricks, and the three little pigs lived happily ever after. The end. 자, 아기돼지 삼형제 영어로 들으시니까 뭔가 새롭지 않으세요? 그리고 연기력은 뭐 그렇게 그닥 좋지는 않지만 그래도 최선을 다해봤습니다. 모든 동화들이 어떠한 그런 교훈이 남아요. 부지런해야 된다. 아주 심플한 그런 결말입니다. 영어로는 뭐 laziness doesn't pay. 근데 재밌게 풀어진 그런 이야기를 통해서 그런 교훈을 듣게 되면 기억에 남더라고요. 자, 여러분 부지런하시길. 다음 스토리 때 만나요.